Buying a home is amazing, especially when it is actually your first time. But there are some things that you need to be aware of when you're making your first big purchase. What we're going to be talking about is some of the top mistakes that I see first time home buyers make, and we're going to go through those in detail so you guys don't have to make them. Mistake number one is going to be looking at houses before you are actually qualified, right? Too many times I'm seeing first-time home buyers going out, having fun, looking at houses without even knowing if and how much they could actually be qualified for. Not only are you wasting your own time, or you're wasting the person you may or may not be working with at that time, you're wasting their time. Number two mistake I see all the time is looking for this imaginary house that does not exist. Right? We always have this little checklist. We're going to write down what we want in a home, things like that. You know, you want to make sure it has a pool, a 2-car garage, 2,000 square feet, it's near downtown, it's near the water, whatever. It's near a mountain, whatever you want. You're going to write down everything that you want. But the thing is, oftentimes you got to realize that what you want most likely doesn't exist. And if it does exist, it's probably going to be double your budget or what you're looking for. If you are looking for, niche things like practically what everybody else wants in the world. So you got to be a little bit more realistic in relation to what you're actually looking for in a property. The number three mistake I see happening, not too often, but I still see it happen every once in a while, is having the listing agent of the home that you're trying to buy represent you. Why? Oftentimes you'll think that might be a good thing, right? Maybe they'll cut their commission to the seller. Maybe they can get you in as some type of discount because they work with them directly. I don't know what you might be thinking, but that is almost never going to be the case. Why? Because the listing agent represents the seller. They do not represent you as a buyer. They may be able to file the transaction and write it up as a transaction broker, but their loyalties lie to the seller. So if you get in any type of issue or there's any mistake, any argument to be made in relation to the contracts or what you guys are looking for, they are not going to be working in your best interest. So I would definitely suggest to go out there and work with a buyer's agent, and especially just because they're free, no matter where you're at. Oftentimes, you don't even end up paying them. The cost comes from the seller. So obviously ask them that and find out, but that is something that you should definitely consider doing before working with the actual listing. Number four is looking too much into the home's online value. Oftentimes people look at the Zestimate 24/7, and that's what they're going to base the home's value at. Whether people are looking at their own home and they're thinking about selling, or they're thinking about buying a home, people are always going to look at the online value and then just base it to be fact, right? Which it is not always the case. Zillow has came out and said that themselves, that they are not accurate at all. Usually they're wrong because algorithms are not going to be what's going to decide the value of a property. We can't just base the value of a property based upon the size of the home and the size of the lot. And that's all we look at, right? We just look at the size of the home and lot, which is all the online algorithms are doing when using things like the Zestimate or Redfin or Realtor.com and coming up with that value. There is nobody from Zillow or Redfin, Realtor.com going to actual homes and looking at the home, seeing what's in it, seeing the age of the roof, the AC unit, if there's a pool, things like that. There's nobody doing that. So the online value is wrong about 90% of the time. There's times where, it could have guessed right? The Zestimate or, whatever could have been right. But oftentimes it's not something that you want to base your value upon the house at. And it's very simple how you find the value. It's just you look at the comparable homes, right? Homes that are similar to the one you're either buying or selling, and you look at the other homes in the area that have similar square footage, similar age roof, AC if it does or does not have a pool, 2-car garage, no 2-car garage, and you compare that and see what those sold for recently, and that's how you can get the actual value of your home. That's exactly what appraisers actually do. Number 5 mistake I see happening all the time is actually expecting that your home's value is going to go up after you buy. You can never be betting on the market to just go up. You have to make sure that the home that you're purchasing is a good decision for you and your family at that time. You can get into a little bit more detail if it's a rental property. Obviously, it needs the cash flow and things like that, but you cannot bet your money on appreciation because that's not guaranteed, because nobody can time the market. Number 6 mistake is underestimating your expenses. I see this happen way too many times, especially with people looking at the online calculators of how much it would cost to buy a home, things like that. If you go online right now, you go to Zillow and you click on what your mortgage payment would be, oftentimes it is not correct. Right? They either put way too much down in their percentage category and they're not including PMI, things like that, or they're undervaluing the taxes and insurance. So you got to make sure that you estimate your expenses correctly. And not only on top of your mortgage, you need to prepare for the utilities as well as maintenance throughout the home because you are a new homeowner. So oftentimes I would suggest budgeting maybe near 1% of your purchase price for things like repairs and landscaping to the front and backyard and things like that. Unexpected miscellaneous item. Number 7 mistake is feeling rushed. The worst thing that you could probably do when looking to buy your first home is feel rushed, because what you're gonna do is make an irrational decision, not based upon facts and the numbers, but based upon more so emotions and feelings. I've seen too many times first-time home buyers or just buyers in general that feel rushed end up making a decision that they live to regret. You got to make sure that you're going to like this home, that the numbers as well make sense. You don't want to go over budget, right? Just because you really, really love the home or are rushed and you need to sell and move, things like that. The number 8 mistake that I see happening all the time, not only with first-time home buyers, but almost all home buyers in general, is falling in love with the actual house. You'll find someone that will practically fall in love with it and they will do practically anything to get the house, even if the budget isn't there, even if it's overpriced, even if it doesn't have everything that they said they wanted in their list, right, versus what they didn't want. Somehow they fell in love with it, even though they knew there were certain things that they didn't want, but now this is the house for them, so they will do whatever, including paying a ridiculous amount or over budgeting for what they can actually afford per month. The number 9 mistake, and it's probably the biggest mistake that I see first-time home buyers make, and this is actually probably a little bit of a controversial topic, especially as a real estate agent telling actual buyers themselves, is the fallacy that renting is throwing away money. That is not necessarily true. And I am a real estate agent. I'm 22 years old. I own 2 houses already, working on my 3rd. I am all about buying a home versus renting. It does make sense versus throwing away your money in rent, but there's certain cases where it doesn't make sense to actually buy versus rent. And what I want to explain more so is the actual opportunity cost, right? You're going to need usually at least minimum $10,000 to $15,000 at the minimum to buy a house, right? Let's say you had $20,000 in this example and you were looking to start a business, right? That is the opportunity cost right there. You can buy a house for $10,000 to $15,000 versus rent and throw away your money renting, or you can continue renting, right, which may only cost $3,000 for first, last, and security, or somewhere along those lines for a cheaper place. And then you can spend $10,000 starting your business, right? That is a great example to where it would actually probably make more sense to rent versus actually buy a home. So not every case would I say it makes more sense to actually buy versus rent. You got to think of the opportunity cost there. That's it for the video, guys. I hope you really liked it. Make sure you subscribe for more content just like this. Like down below if you found that valuable or any help to you at all. And then make sure you definitely watch this next video right here.